Chiransanne, welcome back or welcome to our family, our Royal Institute Dhamma family. Every time when I come, that's how I feel when I enter the building. I really feel like coming to my family, because I feel like as devotees, as people who so what some of you are doing, offering alms to the Swaminathan in the morning and after the sermon as well. And I noticed in the morning that, not that it matters to me really, since I came here, there was not even one occasion where I got any rice in the morning, but I get so many other things, cheese for example. So it doesn't matter to me, but I feel that it has something. See, now, of course, I come from a country where we don't usually eat rice in our daily life, because that's not something natural to our climate in Europe. And I feel like there's a gesture of caring, in the sense that, see, what is the way to love another person, to care about this person? You try to do something for this person that you think this person likes, right? So if your son or your daughter is coming home, would you serve him the meal that he doesn't like at all? No, you would try to serve him what he might like. That is your way of expressing your love, right? So I think that's what I feel like in that gesture, right? Of course, as a monk, there's a certain practice I have to do, and that means these are two different things. But it is definitely a great thing to do. So even though you come here to the sermons and you learn that in the Dhamma sense, we learn all food is the same, this and that. But it doesn't mean that when you are having a chance to express your love or care for someone, that you should simply serve him anything, because it doesn't matter, because it's all the same at the end. That is true, that's for us to realize, but in these things, it matters a lot. And this is the intention that I felt. And so I wanted to say thank you for that. And I feel that, as I said, it is a small family. Now, this is only part of the family, as you know, just like the video was showing there, the other part of the family is in Nogigode. And I feel that in today's time, when students and parents are increasingly stressed about trying to, there's a pressure to achieve things, to become successful, and grades in school are very important. So the students are very stressed, and I mean, not just here, but all over the world. And then when there's no, at least this meritorious background, and for people to understand there's more than competition, there's more than this success and education, because if people don't know that, then people just become, more and more acclimatized to this rat race of life, and then a precious life can become a waste to some extent, right? Just working, grinding away the hours. So we don't want that to happen. We are doing all these things ultimately for happiness. So it's really good that there are these spiritual offers for people to come and to not forget, first of all, that more important than grades and success is, of course, who am I as a person? Who am I as a human being? Because I think happiness at the end of the life, at the end of our lives, and is never determined by your success or by the money you have on your bank account, but always by asking the question, who are you and who have you become as a human being, right? So that is what really matters in terms of your happiness. I mean, you can have won all the World Cups in the world, you have succeeded in many ways, become the best and the most intelligent and the most performing student even in class, but if you do it by pushing others away, for example, and because and if you do it harming others, then of course you will, your mind can't be happy, because every negativity that you give to others must first go through your own mind. So that means we always feel the smell of who we are as a person first, before others smell ourselves, as in what we do, how we act. We smell ourselves first, so we always know who we are, and you can't give anger to someone without feeling your own anger first. So first we make ourselves miserable, and then we eventually make others miserable, depending on how much they allow us to do that. So that means somebody who's acting out of anger, competing or harming others, definitely he can't be a happy man. And even if that is not the case, and you are a very fair and very good person, but you just want to become first, right? So that was something who, most of the time I was like that. I didn't want to hurt others, but I wanted to be first. So then what happened is I was simply stressed all the time. Always stressed. And never satisfied with myself. And couldn't enjoy others to be good, better than me, or being also smart, because they were always a threat. I made them a threat to me. They didn't do anything to me, but I created a threat in my mind. I mean, that is what happens, once you want to be with even when you want to be with a girl or a boy, the moment you decide you want her, you also create a threat with you, because then the other boy becomes, you make him a threat the moment you want her, right? So the same way, when you want to be the best in class, you create your own enemies as well. They don't ask to be your enemy, you make them your enemy. And you means not you, it means we all. And then we start to deny them a part of our appreciation, deny them part of our love, deny them our smile, if not anything at all. If not for erasing bad words, we at least deny people something that they also deserve, in a way. So I know that the toll it has taken on me, having no spiritual foundation, when I was in my university times. Because there was a year where I went abroad from Germany. I went to the UK, and I had many exams in 1 week, in 2 weeks. And preparing for this exam, it stressed me out so much, because for me, everything that mattered in my life at that time was whether I'm going to achieve well in the exams or not. That was who I was. That was my identity. I was the smart one, which means for me to feel good about myself, and for me, to keep the value of my brand going in the society and in terms of my friends, right? So my friends knew me as the smart one, and they also, so when they ask me, so now how was your grade have been? And if I say, I scored very very low. So then the only thing that I have special against them, against others, I had nothing else to sell. I was not the most beautiful person. I was not the most funny person. So none of these things I could claim to myself. At least I had this. I was smart. But if I don't even score well in the exams, then what are people going to find in me valuable enough to consider me a friend? So therefore, in order to maintain my reputation, my friends and my brand and everything, I had to score well. And because of my future, because my future was already in my mind. In my future, I was already a professor. I was already a Nobel Prize winner, as I many times told you. So that was my dream. But a dream has to be fulfilled, and a dream needs a lot of work, and a dream can easily be destroyed by yourself or by others, by nature. So, and I didn't want that to happen. So that means the sheer fear of failing drove me into sleepless nights, which I never experienced before. But when the stress became too high, I started to have these days and weeks of sleepless nights. It was simply the fear of not being able to fall asleep. Can you imagine? One night before the exam, the thought came to my mind, what if I won't be able to fall asleep today? And then that thought alone drove me not insane, it made me so awake that I couldn't fall asleep at all the whole night. So I really had to write this exam in a half tired, I don't know where I was. The body has its energy reserves. Somehow it masters up the energy, and you're driving on hormones, on steroids. Somehow you do it, but it takes a toll, right? So even the exam result wasn't that bad, but this period, it took a huge toll on the body. And if it would have continued for many years like that, I think, it's like you're losing 2 years instead of 1. So the normal life expectancy is 80, but every year of being so stressed permanently all the time, you lose 2 instead of 1. So I think if I would have continued like that, my wrinkles would have appeared 5 years earlier than for others, and my body would have suffered a lot, and I would not. I can guarantee that is because of stress. So I think these problems are not common to just me. I think many have these problems somehow or another. And when children can see monks, associate monks, and learn about what really matters in life, not that there's anything wrong with education, of course, it's important, but that is not the end goal of life, right? Becoming educated and then accumulating stuff. What's the point of that? We need some stuff, I understand that, but much less stuff than you and me think. See, today I can live with very little because it's possible. It's not necessary. Most of the things we have been indoctrinated by the world and by the society that these are things we need. And of course, now society has its own way. There's the culture, right? The culture in which we live in. So we have to adhere to the culture, and some things are necessary. As I always say, some things are necessary and fine. But do you think 15 pairs of shoes are necessary? I don't think so. It's up to you. This is only one example. It's up to you. But I don't have a problem with that unless it makes people happy. But if it doesn't make people happy, then we might better think about, is there a better way? Because there is a better way. And it starts with merits, because merits can make our mind really peaceful. And once I started to do merits, I realized how my whole body relaxed. See, once I started to engage in more and more merits and understand and learn the Dhamma and practice more and more, what happened is my whole body relaxed a lot, right? My face and the muscles, everything. So it's like I became younger again. Because I was lucky, I wasted this body for a good few years. How? Well, what I did was, as I told you, I played computer games all night. That's also not something the body likes, isn't it? And did the eyes like it? No, that's why I have these huge glasses now. Because my eyes are basically nearly blind. Because I like to play in the night. My father always told me, don't do that. You're going to, it's going to destroy your eyes. But I didn't listen. I don't care. So this was the beginning. Then, you're drinking these soft, these chemical energy drinks stuff. I don't know what people tell. I think the last thing you can buy today in a supermarket, in a shop, is water. You can buy anything else, all the soft drinks in the world, and every day there's a new one, more chemical than the next, and supposedly more useful than the next. But all you're really putting down into your body is poison, actually, right? So these energy drinks I used to consume for many years. So it's basically poison, and that's but when you're young, you don't feel it. The body can resist a lot. When you're 15 years old, 20 years old, it doesn't care. So that was the beginning. Now then we come to the going out in the nights, and the drinks which happen there, and then the hangovers, which as a young person, there are no problem. Sometimes you're even proud of that. Because now you're an adult, right? I mean, these are things that people do, and smoking. So, some people, to release their stress, what do? They smoke. I mean, yeah, it works in that moment, but what is it going to do to your body? I mean, it's the worst thing you can do for your body. Because it's going to destroy your body, your lungs, and your skin, and everything. And some people, what they do to reduce their stress is they overeat, they eat. I mean, that is also a very fast way to destroy your body. And destroy your body means more problems are going to come to you, and you have to take care of them. Right? So you're creating two problems out of one. You're having stress, now you eat, now you're having two problems. Stress doesn't go away. Stress comes back tomorrow and again tomorrow. But now you have high blood pressure. So that has to be dealt with as well. So then you have to go to the doctor for that as well. So then you take some chemical tablets to reduce the blood pressure, and what are they going to do? They're going to destroy your kidney also. So then you have to take another pill to save your kidney, or you have to pay a lot of money to save your kidney. So whatever people do, it just creates one problem after another, and at the end they just have to say game over. So then screen comes, game over, and you can say try again or quit. Unfortunately, there's no quit button. That's the most sad story. There's no quit button. You can only press try again. And you don't know which level you are going to start again. Sometimes you have to start in a level where you didn't want it to go, where you didn't even know it exists. Right? And that's the most sad part of all of this. So it's a game without a quit button. Unless you have cheated the whole system. Unless you have hacked the game. Because the Buddha is actually a hacker. Because there was a game where there was no quit button, but he managed to find, a hidden path to quit the game. Because for the others, all that we can do is we can just press next round, and the game starts again. And then we're running and running and running, and someday game over. And so that means this life I'm describing to you, actually we have had this so many times. There's not a single person who doesn't live a life like this in one way or another. That is something I start to realize as I think about life in this way, understanding how our mind works, trying to fill the unfulfillable. I mean, do you think the rich people who have all the knowledge and technology in the world, that they're flying to the moon for fun? They want to discover the Mars for fun? Is that really the case? No, they are also still trying to fulfill the unfulfillable. Right? And I think people who work really, really incredibly hard, unless you are equipped with the Dhamma, how can you enjoy that work fully? It's going to be a huge amount of stress piled up on your shoulders. Because for every responsibility, if you feel that you are doing it, and if you feel that it is your life that you're living, and it is your things that you're taking care of, right? So there's always going to be fear involved. So Jesus said in the Bible, there's a very nice quote. He said, it is more likely for a camel, do you know what is a camel? Yeah, that animal who has 2 mountains. For a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to go to heaven. That's what Jesus said. It's more likely for a camel to go through the eye of a needle, which is basically impossible, than for a rich person to go to heaven. Now you have to understand this very carefully, because people like to think, especially people who are very disadvantaged in life, they like to think it makes them feel bigger when they read this. See how bad are these rich people? They are so bad. How evil are the rich people and the powerful people and the politicians and this and that. So that is not what he wanted to say. And when he was talking about these rich people, he was talking about, the Buddha has said the same thing. I'll tell you the stanza. The Buddha has said, Putta mati danang mati iti balo vihanyati. Atahi atahanonati kuto putta kuto danang. So that means, my sons, my money, my property. So thinks the fool. So he calls someone who thinks in terms of his properties, in terms of the things he has, as he calls it a fool. That simply spoken, that's what he says. Because then he says why? Because atahi atanonati, which means if you don't even own yourself, if there's not even yourself that you can claim as yourself, as you don't even have that, then what about your sons and your money? How much more are you going to have that? You don't have that also. So that means when in reality you have nothing, and a few weeks ago I discussed this with you in some extent, understanding that, of course we know all the things we have today, we have to let go one day. That is a very superficial understanding, but it's true of impermanence, of the fact that we are going to die. That is true. Now that is one aspect. But sometimes I explain to you that while we have these things which are very impermanent, we try to fulfill our mind with these things, which doesn't seem to work as well. However much we try, we don't ever succeed. And we get trapped in maintaining things. See, This is the example that I got the other day. See, when we are going for a walk with a dog, let's say. I used to do that. We had a dog in our family, so I used to go on a walk with him. Let's say there's a flower next to the road, next to the path. A nice, very nice flower. So what is our intuitive... So when we see that, how do we feel? We feel really happy. So now, what is our intuitive... I mean, what could we start doing? Sometimes what we start thinking, I mean, there's a part of us, part of our mind, which likes to do this. It likes to pluck it. Because if you want to have this happiness, if you want to experience this happiness again and again, what should you do? Why don't you pluck it? Why don't you take it home? Why don't you put it into a vase? And you can look at it all the day, every day. Isn't that a good idea? So what we think, I should pluck it and bring it home. My flower, my nice pretty little flower. Now, that's what people do. That means they try to own the flower, to become happy. Because they think that once I own it, it'll be the best day of my life. But the Buddha has said, try and you will see. Or better, understand the Dhamma, and understand the reality. Because what happens is, once you take it home and you put it into the vase, who has to take care of it? You. You have to water it. You have to make sure nobody takes it away. The other people who like to look at it as well. The neighbor who is so jealous about your flower that he comes finding excuses to look at the flower, as well as sometimes he might use a moment to steal it. I'm talking about flower, but you can think about anything else. I don't know. I'm just saying. So that is now your job. You can't leave it alone, right? So you have taken this flower home. And now you have, if you don't pay attention to it, if you don't constantly look at it, somebody might take a chance and steal it. So that's going to be your stress. So that means you have to stay with this flower all the time. Otherwise, you're going to lose it, but you can't live without it. So the fear of losing it will be yours. As much as you and me, we feel that we own this flower, how much do we really own it? Can we really decide what's going to happen with this flower? Can we really look at it whenever we want? Can we really look at it whenever we want? We can't. Are we in control of these eyes? Of our brain? Of our body, of our legs? None of these things are in our control, as well as the flower itself. If somebody really wants, it can be stolen any moment, because it's all based on causes. We are not the owner of this. We can't decide you stay here and it stays here. People can take it. The flower will never resist. So, as much as we want to be in control, we have no control about the flower. But we have fear. That fear is our present. We have fear, and that will be something we constantly need to work to live with. So, and think about this. Once you have brought the flower home, can you take the flower wherever you want to go? Now you can no longer go and experience the whole world. See, when I used to travel with my bicycle, one of the things I saw is that most people, they couldn't do what I did was because they had property to manage. Well, once you have bought a house, or once you have, as I said last week, once you take a loan, basically your freedom is gone. Now you're stuck to a place, so you can only experience this place. So if you want to be with this flower, and this flower can't be something you can travel with all the time, now you have to stay there. And you can't ever experience anything else. The whole beauty of the world, now you sacrifice to be with this one little thing. So the constant worry will be yours. The fear will be yours. And now you sacrificed your freedom to become a security man, security guard, just maintaining a flower. What was the goal of plucking this flower? Was it to become a security guard, or was it to become happy? Did we want to become security guards in our lives? What did we want, to install CCTV cameras so that nobody can break in our cars, and to have, to make sure no one touches our things, and no one, that we don't lose the things we have? All this work that we do, was that our purpose of life? Never. We wanted to be happy, that's why we plucked the flower. But will we get really happy by having it? You're experiencing all these worries and stress and vexations. Yes, sometimes you experience a moment of happiness when you look at it. But I have explained to you, this happiness is not in the flower. It's an illusion. It's just a release of vexation. So that's what happens to people. And that is actually because nature punishes you when you want to own something. Because in nature, everything belongs to nature. This flower belongs to nature. This flower was growing, the flowers are growing, and at the side of the street, they're growing for everyone to see them. But what happens when we start to pluck it? Are others still going to be able to enjoy that? No. When we put a fence around it, now we deny others the chance to enjoy the flowers. And when we deny others the chance to enjoy the flower, then we are also denied in the same way. That's why one of the nice ways to explain God, yesterday our teacher talked about this, is God actually has a very simple meaning. It simply means give or deny, right? So I don't know how I came to this today, but give or deny. So G means give. So if you give, you will be given. That's how it is. And if you deny, you will be denied. So you can take the flower home, but now you have denied others the chance to enjoy this. Because others also might like to go for a walk and experience a nice moment looking at the flower, a nice moment of pleasantness, positivity, right? But now they are denied. So that means you are also denied. How? In the sense that now, once you want to own this, you need to stay with this object, otherwise it might run away from you. So now you can no longer travel around the world and go and look at the flowers in the forest. Because if you go to the forest, your flower will go missing. So now you are stuck with this one thing. So you're denied. Now you're experiencing fear and grief, and you have to keep watering it and can't ever turn your way away from it. So you'll be in constant stress. It's like when you're when you have to do some work in the living room, and there's the food cooking on the plate and in the kitchen. See, if you don't run back to the kitchen after 2 minutes, it's going to burn. So you have to do this all the time. So now here's a way to change. Here's another approach. See, when you see that flower and when it gives you a moment of happiness, what should you do? Why not leave it? Simply leave it there. Leave it there and think about how there are so many people who will come past this flower today, who might have had a bad day at work, who might have had a bad period in their lives. Think about how much positivity, even if it is only a moment of positivity, it can give to these people. Leave it there with the intention that may others also give positivity. So now you have actually given positivity to others, right? You let this flower there, but you let it there for others to be able to enjoy it as well. So that is a merit. That means now you're also experiencing a sort of happiness, but that happiness is much more deeper and much more, much less free from this stress than the other happiness. But it requires you to give. So these are always the two choices we have in our lives. It is not easy. In our mind, there are always these two parts, right? Either it is to own, or it is to give. And the giving is the one that you should do as much as you can. So giving does not mean, as I said, that you need to physically, sell everything that you own. That is not what it means. Giving means in your mind, you should, work against, or, it's all about the mindset only. In your mind, don't claim it as yours. That is hard to do, I know that, but thinking about how it can benefit everyone, that is how you're going to create much more long-lasting happiness for yourself, and this is how you're going now towards the path of Nibbana. Because in Nibbana, when we are going towards the path of Nibbana, all the decisions we should take are actually based on only one question: what is the use? How can it serve the most use for all? So it should not be about best use for you. It should be about best use in general. What is the best for all? Acting towards the best for all. That is the first step towards Nibbana, as I understand it. Right? So you can own this flower, but it's going to be good for you only. But it's going to deny something for others. But if you can, think about the benefit for all and try to address that, then that will be a good way to start. So, as I have said, Jesus said, a rich person can't go to heaven. Now, I don't say that rich means if you have a lot of money today on your bank account, you can never go to heaven. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean the property that you have. It doesn't mean actually what we own physically. It is a mindset that he's talking about. The Buddha also, they are talking about a mindset. And this mindset we need to understand, because the mindset is something we can work on with wisdom. And I gave you this example the other day about the car keys. I'm not sure everyone was here. I'll pick it up again and then I'll try to work from there. See, when you're going to the shop and you're buying a car, see, the shop owner, he's giving you keys. And yes, you might have to sign. You're signing on a piece of paper. See, why do we have these contracts in the first place? Because contracts are actually also a convention. These are a convention that we came up with in our world of humans. Convention means this ownership thing, this my car, someone's car. These are things which we have, which we have created in our society. Similarly to this question, I always ask: how many women can a man marry? So in some societies they say 4, 3. In some they say 1. These are things that can be changed because these are conventions. If it's really true that a man can only marry 1, then should never be able to marry 2. But can't it happen? It can happen. So contracts are actually, nature never cares about contracts, right? So even you can sign a paper and it says, now you are the owner of it. Do you think nature really cares about that? Nature doesn't know anything about owners. That's why things can be stolen. Things can be stolen because nature doesn't know about ownership. Otherwise, if ownership is real, stealing should never be possible. But it is possible. So, understanding that, we have to understand what really happens. That is something we should do, otherwise suffering will come our way unnecessarily. When you went to buy a car, all that really, the owner can do, the shop owner can do, he can give you keys into your hand. But what does that mean? Does it mean you will be able to use it for 3 weeks or 2 weeks or 1 week? Or is it going to be yours now just because you get keys into your hands? It just means that you have keys in your hands, nothing more. Right? Just because you have keys in your hands, does it mean you're going to be able to drive the car when you go out of the building? Even that is not sure. But our mind always takes so many things for granted. See, what you and me feel when we get these keys into our hands, finally I am going to be able to drive this car. Now it's mine. Now it is mine. In other words, I became the owner of this car in this moment. And therefore, now we feel so special and we feel so important, because the one thing that the ego wants, the one thing that ego wants is to be special. By the way, when I'm talking about ego, I'm not talking about you, because when I talk about who you really are, then I can tell that you are not the ego. What we really are is the process of the mind. If you remember, we have talked about this sometimes. When we are going to learn about who you and me are really, then there are 2 things which you are and 1 thing which you are definitely not. See, you are body. The body is something real. That is one aspect. And then we have the mind. The mind is a natural process. It's a natural process that occurs. Just like the rain. Just like the waterfalls. Just like the wind. Just like this. What happens here right now is nature. Right? We can say God. It's a process in nature. Contact between two material objects. This is nature. This pen is nature. Why? Because it behaves like nature. It follows the rules of nature. And mind is also nature. What can the mind do? So this is who you really are. If I were to boil it down very simply, I should say you are the mind. That is, and the mind is not the ego. Ego is something more. So ego is a process which comes additional to that. Ego, what is ego? Ego is this feeling, I am a person. I am a very unique person. I am a monk. So this feeling of I am a monk, I am a woman, I am a man, I am a father, I am a mother. Or the example I gave you at the beginning. What was it again? I am the smart one. Right? So I am the smart one. That's like a drama, really. A drama that the ego likes to play. A role it likes to play. The drama is not, the smart one is a role in a play. It likes to play this. So you will have, actually not you, in your mind, there are various kind of plays which are going on, depending on the situation, depending on the environment. And the ego, which is basically the thing that takes over the mind in that moment, will have sort of play different roles based on an ownership, right? Based on an ownership. So I am the one who knows a lot. I know a lot of things. That's also the ego. So ego basically means there's some sort of an ownership. There is some sort of a feeling of being very special. That is really the thing that the ego wants the most. Ego is a disease that happens to our mind. Ego is this part of our mind which likes to try and own things, or what we could say, snatch a part of nature and build a fence around it and call it mine. Right? This trying to build a fence around a part of nature, and that is what ego wants to do. So this ego happens, actually, it's an artificial creation that happens within all of our minds, and it is because of this ego that we suffer. So let me write down a brief idea of how it works. I won't go into much detail today, but it is a process that happens in every thought. Every thought within you and me creates, there's this sort of a new ego is created, or a new form of ego is created. That is what we call as, when you have studied Buddhist literature, you have come across this Paticca Samuppada cycle, right? Avidya, Pacaya, Sankhara, Vijnana, Nama, Rupa, and these things. And then it ends with Upadana. After that comes Jati. Jati is basically this. So another word for ego would be Jati. This jati happens within our mind and makes us feel that we are a person, that we are not nature, but we are a person in nature, a person who has a lot of ownerships, a lot of properties. And it is basically the mind forgetting its roots. Now it starts to do something which it's not supposed to do, which means owning things that have a value. Better to say, owning things which it believes have a value, right? The ego wants to have a girlfriend. Why? Because it believes a girlfriend is very valuable. And without having a girlfriend, I am not valuable at all. I need a girlfriend to become valuable, because I myself, I am not valuable yet. The ego wants to own something which it believes has a value, because what does it feel about itself? A huge amount of inferiority, huge amount of void, lack, unfulfilledness. That is an inherent characteristic of this ego process, right? So basically what we try to do is, what the mind tries to do is, it wants to create an identity, create identities, because it feels that having an identity is what can make me happy. And it is constantly trying to do that within you and me. Or better to say, within your mind, and this mind, it happens. Becoming an arahant means freeing yourself from this, what we call, false sense of identity. It's not really an identity. You are not an identity, but you feel like you are an identity. You have an identity. See, when I ask you, yesterday it happened to me, because in 2 weeks' time, actually, I can tell you this already today, in 2 weeks' time I won't be able to come to the sermon. Unfortunately, it's not my choice, but we were invited, 2 monks from the monastery as well as me, we were invited to go to some kind of a congress, I don't know, and it happens in another country. So, when yesterday we had to do some formalities, bureaucracy about this congress, and then we had to apply for a visa, and then we were going through these files, and then somebody asked me this question. Somebody told me, so it's going to be easy for you because you are from Germany. Getting a visa is easy for you. So when I heard these words, I felt I can't. This is not something we can control. Feel happy. Yeah, it's going to be easy because I feel that he's right. Of course, I'm from Germany, right? So if I ask you, where are you from? If I ask you, are you a Sri Lankan? Wouldn't you say yes? See, that is your ego. That is ego actually talking. That is ego. And I will explain you why. Because the mind doesn't have a nationality. The mind doesn't have a nationality. See, let's think about it. One thing the Buddha explained about the mind is that the mind is not a thing that exists, it's a process that happens. It's a bit like this clap. So, now I have a hand and I have a hand. It's a very simple example. This is very easy to understand. When I bring these two hands together, what happens? The clap happens. So what was there first? The hands or the clap? So the clap happened after the causes came together, right? Right? Good. This is the same characteristic is therefore actually anything in this world. Everything in this world has the same characteristic, but especially the mind as well. So this mind is not some kind of a machine that is waiting there, give me something to see, give me something to hear, give me something to experience. No, the mind is not like that. The mind is more like a process that happens to report about an incident. So a good way to think about the mind is like the role of a news reporter. So the reporting of a news, can it happen before the news happened? No. And can a news reporter make any demands on what he wants to report? No, he has to report whatever happened. Mind is the same. So if you ask me, how are you today? So you ask me this question. So what really happens now? I feel a sound. Now we're going to talk about a little bit about the way that sound works. Sound. See, the Buddha has talked about how sound, he has explained everything in this world because the Dhamma explains everything in this world, but I can tell you, way beyond science, way beyond science, or actually we can say science is very, very close to many of these answers, more and more. So it understands these things very well, but there are some missing pieces from what I know, because I have studied physics for many years. That's why I can have some idea about comparing these two. So I know I studied sound in my physics classes when I was a student, and even in university I studied sound. And I thought I understood what sound is, but only now when I came to the monastery did I really understand what sound is. Because what I used to think, and if I ask, and I will tell you this, now you will probably agree with me, is that when you hear me right now, the sound that you hear, where does it come from? Where is it created? It's created here. So there's a voice box which creates sound waves. So these are waves of sound, isn't it? So it is the sound that comes flying through the air to you, wherever you are, somewhere in this body, somewhere in the mind, or something like that. So the point I wanted to focus you on is that the idea that sound is actually something which exists here in this world, in front of you. Right? That's why people want to go to a concert. Why? Because the music that the musician makes. So the music is the one, the sound or the music is something the musician makes. That's why we want to go to a concert. What if I were to tell you that the outside world around you is completely silent? That there is no sound whatsoever in the outside world around you? Wouldn't you think I'm crazy? Would that not be completely against your intuition? So sound is something, as you and me, what we feel is sound is something ready-made. Here. So I'm the manufacturer. I am the manufacturer of the sound. That's what you believe, right? That's why people say, she has a lovely voice. That means, why do people love another person? I mean, there are many reasons, but basically it is because of the product she produces. Or he, doesn't matter. He or she or it. What are the things she produces? She has a beautiful voice, which means her voice box produces beautiful sounds. So you receive the product, which is the sound, and you love the manufacturer, which is her. You see the hair, and you love the hair, just as an example, and you give credit to the manufacturer because it is the hair which is beautiful. In the past I have explained to you that hair is not beautiful. Hair is only carbons, carbohydrates and proteins and fat. There's nothing more beyond that. It's nothing. Beauty is not in hair. That's why if it's only something we feel about hair. It's a feeling we have about an outside thing, right? We'll talk about this later. But the point is, we feel sound is something ready-made from a manufacturer here. In this case, I manufacture the sound. Let's think about whether this is really true. Because the Buddha has explained that you are the creator of the sound. Sound happens within you. You are not listening to me right now. What the sound that you are listening to is actually your own mind. This is what you are experiencing. But what do you think you experience? You think you are experiencing something which comes from the outside world to you. And it is a crucial misunderstanding of our mind. I mean, that is basically what this is. Avidya. Avidya, which means not knowing, not understanding, not realizing. It's a lack of wisdom. It's not a lack of wisdom as in, you don't know something in a worldly sense. You don't know how many inhabitants France has. That is also avidya in another way. Lack of knowledge, but not that kind of a lack of knowledge. This is a lack of wisdom about a fundamental characteristic of this world, as we call it Anicca. Anicca means causes come together and manifest an So, an effect is, and I have talked about this before, but simply spoken, an effect is something that is a formation of things, formation of causes. The most simple example is the light that shines. Can you find a storage for this light? Where does this light come from? Is it stored somewhere in the beam, in the lamp, in the electricity? No. It's a coming together of causes. Electricity, lamp, these are mostly the two causes. Or another example is the shadow. Can you store a shadow? Where's the shadow now? Is it in this fan, hiding in the wood? No. That means it's not something coming from anywhere. When the causes come together, what are the causes? Fan, light. Is the shadow in the light? No. And the what? These three causes, when they are present together, an effect manifests, and that is the shadow. The shadows, an effect of these three causes aligning. But this shadow, is it something created? Can you create another thing from three? Can you put three things together and create a fourth thing? How can we test it? How can we see whether this shadow is actually another fourth thing? If it is something created from these things, what can we do? I can simply pack up my fan and should have the shadow there, right? Shadow should still exist. But it was not created. Because nothing was created here. Otherwise it should still be there, isn't it? So what happened was, these three causes align and an effect manifests, but not created, but only happening. Happening. Not a thing, but a process. Does it make sense? Continuously the light shines onto this fan, and continuously every moment a new effect manifests. So now we have taken 2 examples. Now let me prove to you that the sound that you hear does not exist in front of me or even here in this world. A simple way to explain it is, we know that what comes into our... So now now it's always important to ask ourselves, why do we have to go through these explanations, right? Because it's not my intention to load you up with some facts, but it is about understanding. Don't worry, no problem. Don't worry, that's fine. So it's about understanding something very important. If I ask you, where are you from? What really happens is, a mind arises. So maybe let's postpone this proof of the sound for the moment, and let's come to the main point for now. So the Buddha explained this hearing or the sound is something like this shadow, which means when certain causes come together, hearing happens. For example, the ear, your brain, and of course there must be some sort of a input or a vibration. So let's simply say, so let's first write down the shadow, and then we can see what sound is. So shadow is this is the shadow. So what happens in the shadow? There's an object in front of a background. Is that enough? No. What do we need? Light. When these 3 causes align, shadow manifests. Similarly, the Buddha has explained, in Pali he said, Chakuncha paticca rupecha upajati chakku vijnana. That is for seeing. So there's paticca. Paticca means coming together. Paticca, that is the meaning of paticca, coming together. And what is it that comes together? Chakku and rupa. So simply spoken, we can say it is the light and the eye coming together. Maybe as simple as that, light and eye create seeing. Or here we can say vibration and ear creates hearing. So there's a vibration which comes to the ear. In the ear it gets translated into a nerve signal or an electricity signal. That electricity signal travels along to the brain. So then it's not enough to have ears, right? Can a dead person hear? If I take out the nerves in your brain, will you be able to hear me right now? No, so we need nerves as well. And then you need some kind of brain. Brain should be there. If I remove your brain, will you be able to hear me? No. So that means sound happens after the brain. Hearing happens after the brain. It doesn't happen in your ear, isn't it? Otherwise, why do you need a brain? You don't need. So brain brain, and then of course also something we call as mind. So the causes themselves are not that important. It doesn't matter how many are there and how do they call. This is not important, trust me. We don't need to become knowledgeable about science. We just need to understand a principle of nature, which is anicca. That's it. So this is not complicated, although sometimes I have the unfortunate tendency to make things more complicated than they are. So I'm really sorry for that. But I'm learning, so I'm trying my best. So brain and mind. So that means this sound is like this clap. When all these causes align, that effect is the sound or hearing. So when I ask you, how old are you? See, after I speak these vibrations, a chitta arises which hears the sound, how old are you? So who hears the sound? Who hears the sound? A person, or is it just an effect? Causes come together and hearing happens. Just like this clap, hearing happens. And seeing happens. See, that's why if, let's say you are in this room, can you see something? Can you do something to see? For example, if you are in this room and I turn off all the lights, there's no light on in this room. Can you see this? Oh, sorry. You can't see it. Even you want to. You can't do it. It's not something you can do. Because if there's no light, what are you going to do? Similarly, the only thing you can really do is you can turn on the switch. But let's say I tell you, go and turn on the switch, but don't see this. Don't see this. Can you do that? You can look away. That is true, because when you're looking away, now there's one of the causes are missing. But even you're having your face like this, you turn on the light. Can you not see this? No, the seeing will happen because it's not in your control. Seeing happens because when the causes align, the effect manifests. It's not something you can do or not. Then, if seeing is not something you can do, why is it then that we have this thought, let me go and drink a tea in 10 minutes. Let me go and do that in 10 minutes. Drink a tea and, prepare it and, smell it and look at it and taste it. As if we can do all these things whenever we want in 10 minutes. How can that be true? Because these are things which happen when causes come together, not when we want, not because we do it. See, isn't there some kind of a strange misalignment of reality and how you feel reality? This might be a little bit deep, I understand that. But a very simple fact. See, I'm still talking about this experience of yesterday, when this monk, when I was looking at the passport, and when people ask me, where are you from? So who is hearing the sound, where are you from? If you ask me, where are you from? That hearing mind, the chitta, where is it born? How old is that hearing mind? It's born right now. So if anything at all, what nationality should it have? This room belongs to which country? Sri Lanka. So it should, if anything, it should be Sri Lanka, because it's born only now. I didn't bring it from Germany, right? This hearing mind, How long did that exist already in Germany when I was still there 4 years ago? No, this hearing mind didn't exist there. It just arose now. So then how can you say, how can this mind feel, this citta can feel, I'm German, and if I ask you, how old are you? And you say, so I'm 20 years old, 15 years old, 30, 40, 50. See, that is the answer coming to you. But that's an answer in a thought. This answer comes to you in the form of a thought. With the help of memory and other causes come together and a thought appears. How old is that thought really? It created now. So it's not 50 years old. So, see, now you can start to understand a very important thing. The Buddha tried to explain to us that, see, we are body and mind. The body is something very natural and it's just made out of electrons and protons. It's not a German body, Sri Lankan body. This is only carbohydrates in various forms. That's what when you bury this body, that's what remains. You can't find anything Sri Lankan or German in this body. You can't find anything female or male in this body. It's only the energy of the soil. Right? That is what happened. Soil has no nationality, right? Earth, when you look at the earth, you don't find a nationality there. So the body has no nationality, and the body is not something separate, or it's not. It's nature. Let's say nature. Mind. The mind has. I have just tried to explain to you. The mind has no nationality. The mind has no gender. The mind has no age. It has nothing like that. If you think about it like this, then can't you see that we are all the same? We are so much the same. How old are you? Just born. How old am I? Just born. What are these bodies? We have eaten the same things, right? Probably, the milk you drink today is the same the milk we drink at the monastery. So, we have eaten the same things. But how do we feel about the world? I am a Buddhist, I am a Sri Lankan, I am a German, I am a man, I am a female, I am a boy, girl, I am Tamil, I am Muslim, I am this and that. So, this is where this starts, ego. Ego means it has a huge desire to be special, not simply to be a mind and a body, because the last thing the mind wants to be, the last thing the ego wants to be is just a mind and a body, because then, which means nature, it wants to be a person, something unique. It wants to have an identity. It wants to have something, to call it my thing, mine, me or mine, something like that, right? So at least it wants to. So then we can think about it a little bit more. How about the future of this hearing mind? See, this shadow, how old is the shadow? Is it growing older by the minute? Is it growing older, growing older, growing older? Is this shadow right now the shadow that was there 5 seconds ago? If there's a shadow that is created, and now I can, it can exist over time, then I don't need this anymore, right? I don't need this fan. If this shadow now is there, if it's created, only then can it exist over time. If it has to be created in every moment again and again, not it again and again, if there's a new shadow manifesting every moment again, then isn't this shadow new every moment again? This effect right now is born right now. It's not there since 3 minutes. If something would be able to be there for 3 minutes, then why do I need to keep this here? Then I can just put it there and let it be there for 3 minutes. Why do I need this? See, I need this because nothing is created. So in every moment again, it has to be created, or a new effect has to be created again and again. See, now you can see an effect has no future. A clap. Can you clap the same clap twice? What is the future of this clap? Can you recycle it? Can you reuse it? If so, it should be somewhere right now. If you can reuse it, it should be somewhere right now, and you take it again and you use it again. But where is it now? Can you show me the place where it is? That's why the Buddha said, an effect happens only once, never twice. It doesn't have a time, because it doesn't have an existence. It's only a manifestation. So this hearing mind as well, it doesn't have a future. A thought has no future, a citta has no future. A citta happens only once, because of the causes which give rise to it. But that is something very, unsatisfactory to the ego as well. Because the ego wants to at least own one thing, which is a past and a future and a present. It wants to own a self, right? It wants to be a person, at least, if not anything else, if not having a wife or a car or, being a smart one, having knowledge and various other things, or having a nationality, basically all the things that you have in your passport. These are all things that make you unique. That's why we use this to distinguish each one from another, because we think that we are separate individuals in this world. There's a nationality, there's a size, and there's an age, a birthday, a date of birth, right? The more you understand this principle of manifesting, a date of birth is really a complete nonsense. There's no such a thing. Because you were not born at that time, because you're still because you are not a human being, you are a human being. So being happens. So which means you're not fully born. Life is not something done, it happens. Just like the shadow. So now you can understand more and more how this ego creates a feeling of uniqueness, and with uniqueness comes a feeling of being special and ownerships. And the thing is, all these ownerships are a huge weight on your shoulders, which drag you down. Because I was thinking about it yesterday. I was having a wash, okay? So when that happened, this point came to me. See, when you're dressing yourself, let's say you had a hard day of work, and now you're taking a rest, and now you're smelling your body, and now you feel that, that doesn't smell really, really well, because of I have worked the whole day. So when you smell this smell, don't you feel that your body is not smelling nicely? Right? Let me explain to you how much you and me, we suffer just from instances like these. And we don't have to. We can keep this. Because smell, see, we actually believe our body smells. And we feel that smell is also something that exists in the outside world. So there are people who smell good, people who can smell nice and bad. Smell is something that, exists in this world, just like sound. The thing is, what exists in the outside world is atoms and electrons and protons, and these things are there, but there's nothing smelly there. Smell happens actually in your mind, because the only thing that comes to you, at least what travels from here to your brain, is only a nerve signal. Don't you agree with that? I don't want to make it complicated, but see, don't you maybe... There's a nerve signal which travels from the nose to your brain, right? That means if this flower smells so nicely, then what should be true is that the smell travels through your nerve signal to your brain, right? Now the thing is this: imagine you take this nerve signal. This argument, I give it again and again, but it's very... I always fail to make it as simple as I can. This nerve signal that travels from your nose to your brain, take this nerve signal and swap it with a signal from your eyes. Can you imagine that? Swapping these two nerves? So usually this signal goes from here to, let's say, there's a part of your brain, let's say this part, which this nerve signal goes from. So this nerve signal goes here, and then it's being computed, and a color appears. And there's some other part of your brain which is here, and this is where this nerve signal goes to. And when this nerve signal goes here, a smell happens. Now imagine you swap the two nerves. Does it make sense? Just swap the two nerves. Imagine you would do that. What will happen? You take a flower, you put it in front of your nose, it stimulates the nerve signal, but instead of going here, it goes here. And what will happen then? A color will appear. A color will appear. That means, what came into your nose? A color. A color. Did you smell a color? Or did you inhale a color? No. But then, how can you say that you inhaled a smell? Because just by changing your brain, where you can no longer find the smell. Right? So that means, that's why scientists, what they can do is they can put some kind of a machine on your head and trigger some kind of nerve signals, and then they can make you smell things without there being any smell. They don't have to put any smell into your head. They just have to take some kind of power generator, 1 volt, adjusted according to the frequency and the voltage, and they just stimulate a part of your brain, and what they can create is colors. But there's no color in the signal. They just create electricity. Nothing more. No smell, no sound, nothing like that. Right? Or another good example is when somebody takes, let's say, a piece of wood and he hits you on the back of your head. See what happens sometimes when you're reading these comics. But it works in reality as well. When somebody hits you hardly on the back of your head, you start to see some lights, right? Now, where do these lights come from? I mean, he didn't give you lights. He just hit you with some movement. There was no light in the stick, and no colors came into your eyes as well. But the only thing that happened is he stimulated some kind of a nerve signal, and the light was created in the mind. So the light, this color, happens when this nerve signal comes together with some kind of visual cortex or something like that. Somewhere it happens. So the point I was trying to make is, when you realize that smells are not there, then how can you feel that your body is smelly? How can you feel that there are others who smell good or bad? Nothing like that. But unfortunately, our mind doesn't realize like that. Our mind, when the mind has this ego, it feels there's me and there's this smell that I'm smelling. Right? There's this smell that I'm smelling, and I am the one who's experiencing it. And where does the smell come from? It comes from my body. That means my body is smelly. My body. So actually that mind suffers. Do you like to have a body that is smelly? No, in that moment you experience something you don't like. And when you experience something you don't like, you experience vexation, or what we call grief. Grief means a moment of sadness. It might be so subtle, but the thing is, you can't enjoy that moment. And then the sad story is, until you shower, the whole, I don't know how many, 30 minutes, 1 hour, every moment that you smell your body, you can't enjoy that moment. So all of these chittas, I don't know how many, all these chittas, they believe that it is the smell that comes from the outside world, and it is a bad smell, so therefore my body is smelling bad. And since it's my body, I don't like this to happen to my body, because my body is my property. My property should be valuable. Now it's losing value. So I should change something. I must change this body to make the value go up again. See, this is how we fight with our property. Even that is fighting with your property. Once the chitta is so ignorant to think that this body is mine, and this smell comes from my body, for example, now it has to maintain this body, because that is now one of your properties. And this is a huge amount of suffering, because all of these chittas, you can't enjoy life. You can't enjoy life because you think that the problem is that my body smells bad. And the Buddha gave us a huge relief by explaining us that, see, you create your own suffering each and every moment. The suffering is not in the outside world. Your body doesn't smell bad because your body doesn't have a smell. Once you can become aware of this reality, all the suffering stops. That is the point. Just understanding anicca, dukkha and anatta, what I explained to you today, and practicing this awareness, what it will do is, once a chitta can become aware of this reality that smells and sounds and colors and these things are not in the outside world, that you are just a chitta, all these things will stop, all this baggage. All this baggage of having to maintain identities will stop. Because think about how much you and me, we suffer just because we feel that we have this body is ours. Think about the face alone. How much it can take away your happiness by feeling that this is your face. I mean, how much time people spend in front of the mirror because they are not happy with what they see. Therefore, they need to buy some products to make it according to something that they like. Because the ego doesn't feel valuable itself, right? As I said, the ego always feels very small. I am no one. I don't like to be no one. I like to have many valuable things. And it has been indoctrinated by society and others to believe that, this is how you have to look like. This is how your face should be. This is what the things you should do. And men or women alike. So I was someone who made up his hair just to look good. I used to buy gel and this stuff and put this stuff into my head just because I wanted to feel good about myself, because I have started to believe that it's something beautiful, it's something valuable, it's more valuable. Value exists in hair and having there's such a thing called a nice hairstyle. So I did it to feel valuable, because inherently I didn't feel valuable about myself. That is not something you can change unless you come to realize the Dhamma more and more. Right? So it starts by realizing that there's no such thing called ugly or beautiful. These are only feelings created in our mind about value. Today I have talked to you about the fact that not even the colors that you see come from your face. What if even your face don't have any colors? Because you are not seeing your face. Because this face has no colors. Colors are an effect in our mind. See, once you realize that, once you can be aware of this, how can you feel that your face is ugly? Or your face is not nice? Or when things happen because this face has to be maintained, honestly. Is it nice to look into the mirror when you're growing older day by day? No, it's not nice, because it used to be nicer. And what people try to do is they try to use technology and all these kind of products to maintain it in a certain shape, which takes a lot of money, and it can release your stress for today, but tomorrow you need to buy the next product and the next product. And think about how much people go to the gym, not just to be healthy. They go to the gym to feel good about themselves, because they think that the answer to happiness is having a trained body. It gives, I did it. I did it because of that. Not because I wanted to be healthy. I thought having muscles, that will make me valuable. Attractive maybe. Or it makes me, at least, it's something people will notice me. Or people will, I don't know. Because then I can look like what I see in the mirror. So I spend so much precious human life trying to maintain this body, which is a lot of work, a lot of money. This body doesn't care about it, because even how much work you put in, it doesn't like to stay. So you have to put in the work continuously. If you don't go to the gym anymore, the body will start to, take its natural shape, and you have to keep working out just to maintain it in an image which you have believed is valuable. And that's what you do, maintaining this thing until you die without any real result other than maintaining, becoming a security guard. That's it. No one has ever found fulfillment like this, but no one knows what to do other than doing it, because they don't know the secrets of the mind that I have explained to you today. These are secrets, and people don't realize them. First of all, you need a lot of merits to come across someone who explains these things. And then you need a lot of merits to understand it as well. This happens gradually. And once you realize, and once you can practice this awareness, all your problems stop. You don't have even to maintain your body, because a chitta has no body. It's just a process, just an effect. It is so light, it can fly. It's like a bird. It can fly anywhere it wants, as in there's nothing holding it back. But when this chitta starts to create, or when this ego process starts to happen, now there's so much baggage. My body is one of the first baggages it creates, as well as my life, time, past, present, and future. This is my life. Now, when it's your life, you have to make the decisions. You have to plan your future. And you have to be worried about losing things in the future and what will happen in the future, because you think you have a future. But Chitta has no future, therefore it doesn't have to worry about that. So, we'll talk about these things more. This has to sink in. This is not something you can all digest in one day. It'll happen gradually, and it'll make sense more and more. And then that's when. But I think I was able to explain a lot of things to you today, and I think I have still 15 minutes to explain you one last thing, which I have been thinking about in this week. Just have a sip of water. One of the worst curses and things that people don't have any answer to in life is sensuality. As you might have started to begin to realize, at least you have started to begin to realize that it can be a curse, at least in some extent, but the more and more I understand, I realize that it is only a curse. Buddha has always said, Nati rago samo agi. So there's no fire as bad, as worse, or as strong as the desire. Desire is what kills people. Ultimately, desire is responsible for the unwholesome deeds. But I don't have to talk about this, because I don't think that that this is a major problem that you have, in the sense that otherwise you wouldn't be here. Maybe, I don't know. But even if, that's fine. I don't care about that. In here, I'm not here to talk about these things. What I want to think about is think about the suffering that happens in the mind that constantly feels sensual feelings. And no one can help such a person. Only thing that people tell you is find a wife, find yourself a movie at least, or I don't know. Whatever these nonsensical answers people have, because that's the only thing people know. And yes, it's better to do it in conventional boundaries rather than doing it however then that is worse. But still, that doesn't take away the fire that comes up all the time. So the Buddha was not somebody who came to this world to tell people you should. Someday we will talk about this more, what these 5 precepts really mean. But I can tell you the deeper meaning, or the real meaning of when the Buddha gave the precepts, he didn't mean to say kame sumichachara means don't go and have an affair. That is something people knew and practiced even before the Buddha came, and he wasn't here just to give you some moral rules. When I came to Laos and I wanted to start to learn Buddhism, and when people told me, these are the rules that the Buddha gave us, I was very disappointed, because I thought, that's something I know. 10 precepts, or the 10 commandments are there in Christianity as well. What's the point? I don't just come here to practice a religion. I can stay at home, I have one already. But the Buddha came here to explain something completely different about Kame Sumichachara, what it really means. We'll talk about it another day. But basically, he came here to help people come out of this raga feelings once and for all. Because they are just a huge amount of trouble and a huge danger in terms of taking our happiness away. I mean, I can talk about myself, I know. Things I thought I had to do to become happy, and what people put into your mind, the size of your body parts, I mean, just the general thing, size of what, I mean, that's how low people have stooped right now. I mean, you can watch TV in Germany at least, and it's not maybe on the public, like the first two channels which belong to the government basically, which is kind of a bit less commercial, right? Because it doesn't have to run commercials because people pay some money to make it run. But then the other channels, I mean, really popular channels, I mean, there people talk in these talk shows about, and actually, I'm sorry, but the size of body parts as a general thing, isn't that something people talk about? They do. And that's what people think they need to work on to find happiness. And that's what people think that they should look at, or that's what people try to find happiness. Because they think it comes in, it matters the size, right? So the thing is, I mean, we can start by thinking about what, and I have used this example before, what is in holding hands? How much happiness is there in holding this hand? Well, generally speaking, so in society we say, see, aren't there, if I ask 100 people, let's say most men I ask, if you hold this hand, would you enjoy that? They would say, no. There might be the one or two odd ones, actually not odd, this is the ones or two who say, yes, I would enjoy that, in the sense I mean it, in a sensual sense, okay? They might enjoy that. Then there might be few, I don't know, I don't want to rate myself, that's up to some others, women who say, I would enjoy that, holding this hand. See, can you see, 100 people have how many different opinions about, and they would feel so many different things about this. Some people would enjoy it, some people would not enjoy that. Is it only women who enjoy holding this hand? No, there are also men who can enjoy holding this hand. So then, what is in this hand? How is it that if one person enjoys holding it and another doesn't enjoy it at all? If this hand has enjoyment, everyone should enjoy it. At least about myself. I should enjoy my own hand, but I don't enjoy it. I don't like to hold this hand because it doesn't bring me any happiness holding it. Then how can somebody else holding this hand feel happiness? Can it be true that this hand has this enjoyment? Can it be intrinsic to this hand? Then why do some people feel it and some others don't? It's created in your mind. It's created based on your views or your mind's views, whatever the views in your mind. If there's a view that this is valuable, and if there's a wanting for it, based on that, you might feel a moment of pleasure, but it's not coming from this hand. But how do we think? How do we feel? We feel that this hand is intrinsically valuable, so this hand can give me happiness. That's why we want to hold this. That's why we think, if I can hold this girl's hand, oh, that would be nice. Then I can own something valuable. And why is it? And why is there different values between this hand and, I don't know, the shoulders and these kind of things? It is, some people, I don't know, did I talk about this? I mean, there are people who like to look at a foot, but others find it totally revolting. So then, is it revolting or is it enjoying? What is there in this foot? None of these things are there. But people always like to indoctrinate you to make you believe that this is intrinsically like this. Because that's what this world is based on. People don't understand the process of finding things disgusting. They don't know how it works. They think there are things which are disgusting. And that's what we pick up. So we get this view, this is disgusting. So But there's no such thing called disgusting. There's nothing in this world which is disgusting, and there's nothing in this world which is attractive. Because if this were attractive, everyone should find it attractive. If this were attractive to women, all women should find this attractive. But they don't, not all. Because it depends on the views. You need to have it's always an indoctrination. And let's go one step further and understand, see, there have been people who were married, let's say, and when they married, that first night is the most special thing. That's what people sometimes live for. That is all that they think, that this is what they think can give them happiness, right? Isn't it? I mean, people think that. And now, how can... See, I have heard stories like these. People marry and they're happy. And then a few years later, they experience the same situation. I don't want to be too explicit, but I try to explain. They experience the same situation. But if it's a situation that you don't want at that moment, let's say, can't it be the worst nightmare? The same situation can be hugely pleasant and hugely unpleasant. The same experience, bodily experience, I'm saying. You can touch in the hand, it is the same. It is the same example. How is it that sometimes the same person touches our hand and we love it a lot? That's what we were looking for. And then the person comes and touches our hand, but we are angry about this person because of some reason or another, and we hate this touch. And we feel this is so unpleasant. So how can that be? How can the same bodily experience be one or the other? So then must this not... it depends on what you want at that moment. So that means if it's something you want at that moment, you create your own happiness. If it's something you don't want, you create your own suffering. Understanding this is a real liberation, because there are people who suffer because they think that they were abused, which means that others abused them, that this suffering came from others, that you can be abused, that there can be things which people can do to you to make you suffer. And when this is something you believe, now you have to always live in fear. And this is what the samsaric journey always wants you to believe, that happiness and suffering is out there, so that you keep trying to acquire the good things and try to avoid the bad things, and that's what we do, and there's no end to that. But when you realize that there's nothing like that, happiness and suffering are created in your mind. I mean, this is, see, the same bodily experience. One time it's something that person wants, so there's a lot of happiness, and then something it really doesn't want, and there's a lot of suffering. So then who created it? Can't be the bodily experience. How special is the bodily experience then? It is not special at all. It's simply an experience. It's not special at all. Once you realize that and can practice this awareness, I can tell you, you can come out of these feelings. That's what happened when I practice this every day, every week. And actually I can be lucky because people like you and our devotees, all of you, support me by donating food and for requisites, so that I can practice these things and I can come here to you and I can share with you what I have been able to realize and practice, so that you can do the same, so that you can also improve yourself spiritually and come to freedom from these feelings. I think you, as a parent, you should never wish your children to find a good wealth for these feelings. Because then you still wish suffering for your child. How can that be? May you suffer, but suffer in the right amount or with the right person. How can that be true? If you really love someone, you want this person to be free from suffering. And free from suffering means not having any of these things, not suppressing them. That's not what we do. I don't suppress these things. I realize there's nothing special to attach. These were all just indoctrinations. And then the last point is, see, there were people that I liked, and I thought experiences with them, holding hands and whatever, can be the thing that will make my life happy. There's nothing more that I want in my life. If I can be with this person and hold her hand or whatever else, that would be great. And if I can, and what would have happened if I would have done it? Well, maybe I would have married, maybe I would have had even a child with this person. Then the question is this: would this child that we have brought into this world enjoy the same experience I enjoyed with that person? I mean, I'm sorry to put it as obviously as that, but no. So, I mean, if this child wouldn't enjoy something I find enjoyable, then what is the enjoyment in that thing at all? Is that enjoyment in that? It's something created in our own minds. I don't know, I can't go too explicit, but there are things a child would never enjoy doing with that mother, but a normal man would do and say that's so good or normal. Then it's all up to the view. It's all up to the view. Anyways, you don't know. Can you really know who's your mother also? I mean, you came into this world and you learned this is your mother, and then there was a view that was created, and that's how you perceive it. But she might just be another woman. And who knows? Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if this is too explicit or if I have to cut this out from the online sermon, but I'm just, sometimes maybe there have been people who thought this is just a woman, but later found out this was my mother, but they just never knew that they were adopted. See, it's all up what you think. It's all up what you think in your mind. It's nothing beyond, nothing in the outside world. That nothing in the outside world has any connection. These are always views, right? When we think this is our mother and we have a view that this is never something you should do, and this is not something, then of course, see my sister, when I have learned this is my sister, but do I really know she's really biologically my sister? I don't know. She might just be another girl. But because of the view, whenever I meet her, I feel her very differently as anyone else. But is that really because of something that exists in the outside world? No. It's just a view. And by the way, I don't want to say this is how it happens. We just have to realize it. Nothing is really there that has a value. These are just conventions, and we follow the conventions. So please don't misunderstand me, because there can be people who think, no, okay, if this is all just in our head, then why don't we do whatever you want? That's not what I want to say. It's all, just have to understand pleasure and happiness created in your mind. Why do you look for it in the outside world? You can't find it there. But people think it's there, and that's why they have these incessant desires, and they can't come out of it. And then they ruin their lives trying to run after these things. But the only real battle you should fight is the one against this ego, which creates all these delusions, or better to say, ignorance is what creates these delusions. See, all the things I told you today, you had no idea whatsoever until you came here. And I also didn't have any idea about these things. Luckily, I found someone who explained me. Otherwise, I would have wasted my life. So that means, what can we do? We just try to earn merits as much as we can. Why do we earn merits? Not to live a comfortable life alone, to free our mind from ignorance and attachment, to find real freedom. Because all these minds, every mind arises thinking, oh, the smell is in my body, and it can't enjoy because this is a bad smell. But neither is a smell bad. There is no such thing called a bad smell, nor does there even exist a smell in the outside world. Smell are things which happen in our mind. So once you realize that, why do you beat yourself up every chitta again and again? Every chitta, this chitta beats itself up, the ego beats itself up. My body is so bad, my body is so smelly, my body is so smelly. You can't enjoy these 30 minutes until you go to the shower and have a shower because you think something is wrong. But the reality is nothing is wrong. You were ignorant. And once you can realize and practice this awareness, now you will still have a shower, right? You will still do it because others might think you are smelly. Unfortunately, it's a convention. Others think you are smelly, but if we would live in a world full of arahants, then we wouldn't have to do that. Because arahants know that the smell that they smell is their own smell. That means it's created in their own minds. So they would never judge someone else for smelling bad, because the smell doesn't come from others. Just like when people blame you, it's not others who blame you. The blame is created in your mind. That sound happens in your mind. It doesn't come from the other person. So when we hate someone because of he blames us, that is when this chitta thinks, I'm a person and this sound came to me from this person. Now we start to hate the manufacturer. And now we have relationships with manufacturers. The ones who manufacture our happiness in the form of a smell, a color, a nice form, a nice shape, a nice sound, right? That's what we love. So we are automatically attached. But once you realize that no manufacturers exist for the things that you can experience, color, sound, smell, taste, and so on, you are free from all of this, having to beg for your happiness from manufacturers, having to beg from it from the shop where they sell you a shirt or a dress, and without which you think you can't be valuable or happy, because that is how you should look like. That's also something I used to do. And anything else. People who think that they need to have a car to be someone valuable, because that is how small they feel about themselves. So as much as, I saw people in my near to my hometown, there were people who in the night, they took a big car. Most of the time it wasn't really bought, they just went to the shop and they rented it for a day, and they put the engine on as maximum as possible and drive through the streets, and so everyone would know that they are there and that they are driving in this car. That is what the ego makes people do. But as much as somebody feels good in this moment, if it's only a release of suffering, right? So as much good as you feel in this moment, that means how much low you must feel about yourself generally. So that means even people like these, I don't feel angry about them anymore. I used to feel angry about them, and I used to hate them for doing such egoistic things. Now I feel so sorry that they have to do this to escape from a suffering that is created in their mind without them having any idea whatsoever where it comes from. But today we have explained, we have started to go into the deep roots of where it comes from, and how do we tackle it? By doing merits for getting free from this, which means attaining Nibbana, as well as by coming and by listening to the Dhamma and doing the Manasikara, by trying to comprehend the Dhamma, becoming a Sotapanna, as well as trying to practice this once we become, to free our mind from this jati or ego. Raga, Desha, Moha. That is what Nibbana is. Ragakayo, Deshakayo, Mohakayo. That is what the only real. That's why the Buddha said, I can't still remember this. There's only one path to happiness. Eso Satana Magga Visuddhi or something like that. I need to check it. There's only one path to happiness. That is this path. But people have many ideas, but they are all not a path at all. Okay, let's finish and transfer our merits. Let us take a moment to transfer the merits that we have all acquired by making offerings to the infinite virtues of the Noble Triple Gem, chanting Pirit, not chanting Pirit, by inviting the Swamina Hanse and to deliver the sermons, by offering flowers, oil lamps, incense sticks and water to the Lord Buddha, by listening to the Dhamma, contemplating on the Dhamma, and various other meritorious deeds, by preparing the Buddha Puja in the morning and so on. First and foremost, let us transfer these merits to all the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, reminding ourselves how incredibly grateful we are to be in receipt of the Lord Buddha's teaching, and to each and everyone who has gone through the effort of sharing and preserving the sublime teachings of the Buddha, which is thankfully available to us today to study, understand and comprehend the Dhamma in the form of the Tripitaka. Let's also transfer these merits to all members of the Mahasangha present throughout the world, including the chief prelates of all of the chapters, as well as all the monks and nuns resident in your local temples and nunneries, who have always been by your side through thick and thin, come rain or shine. Let's also transfer these merits to Guru Swami Nuhanse, as well as all the monks resident at the monastery, as well as the Anagarikas and Anagarikas attached to the monastery. Let's also transfer these merits and express our gratitude to all those who make great efforts to disseminate the teachings of the Buddha, be that by transliterating these sermons, sharing them out with others, or inviting others to join them. If any of them have been born in a woeful plane, may they redeem themselves and be born in a blissful plane. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the Noble Eightfold Path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's also take a moment to transfer these merits to our devotees, friends of the monastery, who for the sake of merits continue to sustain the Mahasangha. This includes everyone from those of you who have supported the Mahasangha with shelter, robes, alms and medicines, as well as those who provide their know-how and continue to extend their well wishes. Let's also transfer these merits to each and everyone who has made these programs possible, from the administration of the school and beyond. May through the power of these merits, they be healed of any physical and mental ailments and overcome any obstacles to their spiritual progress. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the Noble Eightfold Path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's also take a moment to transfer these merits to our mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, nephews and nieces, our elders, friends and acquaintances, employers and employees, to each and everyone who has helped us and in the past, as well as our teachers. And may through the power of these merits they be healed of any physical and mental ailments and overcome any obstacles to their spiritual progress. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the Noble Eightfold Path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's also transfer these merits to the Devas and Brahmas, spirits and demons, primarily the Sakradeva, as well as all the numerous gods and deities who are committed to protect and fulfill the Sambodha Sasana. Let's also transfer these merits to our guardian deities who keep a watchful eye over us and keep us out of harm's way. And may the power of these merits, they prosper in divine power and wisdom. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the Noble Eightfold Path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's also take a moment to transfer these merits to our ancestors, all those who have predeceased us, all those who have been our family and friends in this journey of samsara. Let's also transfer these merits to all members of the armed forces as well as the police forces who have sacrificed their lives to protect the peace and harmony of our nation. May all those who lost their lives in the war, be they friend or foe, rejoice in the merits we've acquired today. Let's also transfer these merits to all those who lost their lives in natural calamities such as tsunamis, earthquakes, landslides and pandemics, reminding ourselves that among them will be those who've been family and friends to us in this journey of samsara. May through power of these merits, if any of them have been born in the warful plane, they redeem themselves and be born in a blissful plane. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Finally, let us all resolve that, may through the power and blessings of all the merits we have acquired throughout the day, we be able to witness the advent of many hundreds of thousands of arahants on this blessed land. And finally, may through the power of these merits, you and I and everyone who has helped to make this program a success become an Arahatonohanse, an Arat Mehininohanse in this very life itself and in the era of the Gautama Supreme Buddha itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Now the Mahasangha will transfer their blessings to you. Raga ginin midetnva, desha ginin midetnva, moha ginin midetnva, nibbana parama sukhayin, Sukhita taravetnva, Nibbana parama sukhayin, Sukhita taravetnva. Mamada siyalo loka, siyalo satnvayo, Nibbana parama sukhayin, Sukhita taravetnva, Nibbana parama sukhayin, Sukhita taravetnva, Nibbana parama sukhayin, Sukhita taravetnva. Raga gini niveva, desha gini niveva, moha gini niveva, nivan sapala bheva, nivan sapala bheva, nivan sapala bheva. Tunuruangi suisi ananta mahaguna belen sielo logo silo satyo nibbana paramasukin sukhitara vetta. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.